Most people don't know how to learn because they fry their brain with podcasts and YouTube videos and books and textbooks and social media. And 6 months later, after learning so much, they have nothing to show for it. Why are you even learning in the first place if not to do something with it? Learning, for most people, has become a form of mental masturbation. It's the same cheap dopamine you get from scrolling on your phone, but even worse because it makes you feel as if you're learning something. But the reality is, you'll forget about it by tomorrow. Now here's the harsh truth. You're learning slow. And if you can learn 10 times faster, you can achieve success faster. You can complete the portfolio project. You can start the business. You can articulate your thoughts in your writing or whatever it is that you're learning. Even further, it's my belief that most people are just wasting time. You can probably learn what you need to learn within 2 weeks, when most people take 6 months to learn that one thing. So to do that, you need to learn how to learn. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to cover these topics: the protege effect and Feynman technique, how to optimize for pattern recognition, which is very important, how to use AI to speed up the process, and project-based learning so you actually do something and you solidify the knowledge. So this is going to be a very practical video. My other ones are more philosophical, more abstract. This is just like straight, here's how you learn. So please be ready to take out your notes because we're going to go over practical examples with screen recordings and everything. And by the end of this, you should have a clear path to learning any skill that matters fast. So let's start with this previous tweet of mine. When I want to learn something new, I don't start learning first. I outline a project first. Then I learn exactly what I need and build out the project while learning. I found that this solidifies teachings into my brain much faster. The mark of a free person is that they learn how to learn. That is the meta skill. That is the skill of all skills, is if you're, in order to pick up a skill that changes your life, you need to know how to learn that skill effectively so that you can use it. Because if you don't choose what to learn, you will be told what to learn. And if your mind is the operating system for reality, the options available for your future will be drastically limited and you won't even realize it. More importantly, the most important thing you can do when the world is rapidly changing like it is with technology and AI is learn. Learning is the single most important skill because it allows you to learn the skills that can't be taught in schools, because the schools they're just this big system, this big, maybe outdated system that take a long time to catch up with the times. Changing a curriculum is a lot slower than someone who learns the topic fast, makes a YouTube video on it for you to learn even faster. And if you can keep up with that, if you can keep up and adapt with the latest skills that are coming and adding them to your tool belt, you can do some incredible things. So the first step to learning how to learn is to create a map of your ideal life. Because I've watched countless tutorials, not only researching for this video, but learning how to learn myself in the past. I've watched countless videos, listened to countless podcasts of people teaching how to study or learn. It seems like the missing piece is that they just don't go over why you're learning in the first place. People choose something to learn, but it doesn't connect to any of their current skills, and it doesn't connect to the life they want to live. This is dangerous. You won't want to learn if there is no deeper meaning or clarity behind it. You will need more discipline, and you'll probably continue to hate learning like you did in school. Or you'll feel like your learning is for the sole purpose of getting a job or career that you didn't care about in the first place. So that's step one, to create an aim for your learning. That way you can feel the progress you are making toward your self-generated goals, not the goals society assigned to you. That is a major key of life enjoyment. And I'll spare you the psychology around that go read the book Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi and you'll understand what I'm saying here. If you don't enjoy what you're learning and you just feel like you're learning to do something that was expected of you since you were a kid, that your parents wanted for you or that society wanted for you, you're not going to enjoy it. And that alone is going to hurt how much you learn. People who enjoy learning something can be so much better at people who are just innately smart. So we're going to do something very fun here. To create an aim for your future, we're just going to map this out. You don't have to do this inside of Cortex, but there is a template available for you to download to fill these things out. Now, this is going to get extremely fun with the AI prompt we have, and so many people have enjoyed using this prompt because you'll see what I mean. But first, you're going to dissect your day, your current, what you do every single day. So these are just examples for me, but in the morning, you break down the activities you do. and how you feel while you're doing this. That part isn't too important. You can honestly just delete this section if you want to. The important section is here. So what do you not want out of life, and what do you want out of life? So you should get more specific than I do here, or else the AI prompt is going to yell at you to get more specific. We've talked about vision and anti-vision many times in many videos. Now, you're going to break it down. You're going to gain clarity because a hierarchy of goals frames your mind for what you are going to learn. If you don't have these things written down, when you go to learn something, you aren't going to know how to apply it to your goals because you don't have goals. You just have the goal of going to school, getting a job. So the only thing your mind is trying to pick up as information fuels that goal. So generate your own goals here, what skills and knowledge you need to acquire in order to achieve them, which will also help shape your learning and what you decide to learn. And then, are there distractions standing in the way? Now, you can go even further. So each week, what I would recommend doing is duplicating this specific part. So what went well last week? What didn't go well? You can write down gratitude, goals for this week, different connections inside of your workspace if you want to. And then every day you can write out your tasks, and I can duplicate this as well, change this to Tuesday, so on and so forth. So when you have your plan, your life plan, you can rename this template to My Life Plan. But if we go over to chats, what I can do is create a new chat, and we're going to use this document. You'll see how. But we're also going to go to my prompts. You can also find a link to this in the description. And we're going to go to the strategic advisor prompt here. And what this says is so cool. It's act as my personal strategic advisor with the following context. You have an IQ of 180. You're brutally honest and direct. You've built multiple billion-dollar companies. You have deep expertise in psychology, strategy, and execution, et cetera, et cetera. Your mission is to identify the critical gaps holding me back, design specific action plans to close those gaps, push me beyond my comfort zone, et cetera. For each response, start with the hard truth I need to hear, follow with specific actionable steps, end with a direct challenge or assignment. Now, this is important because your strategic advisor here is going to identify blind spots, and you can just talk to it the entire time as you're learning things with the prompts we're also going to talk about later in this video for creating something like a study guide for the skill you're trying to learn. So I do have to mention that this was found from Apollinator 3000 on Twitter. It's just a really good prompt. I really enjoy it. So we're going to take this. We're going to copy. Dang it, I can't copy stuff. Okay, Command C. We're going to press Tab to toggle on Kai, which is new. Cortex AI, pretty cool. But again, you can copy paste this into ChatGPT, whatever. I'm just showing it here because it's my software, right? But we're going to enter this, and it's going to respond when it's ready. And it says, okay, I'm ready. And I'm going to say, I want you to review at My Life Plan and help me achieve my goals. What do I need to do? It's going to go over it, and it just rips you apart. Now, this is pretty long. I'm not going to read this entire thing. But this life plan is a scattered collection of thoughts, not a strategic roadmap. Prioritize ruthlessly with the action. Rewrite your goals. Identify your bottleneck. Systematize your health and relationships. Eliminate distractions. Focus projects. By tomorrow, rewrite your life plan with the following: one primary goal, revise secondary goals, clear defined SMART goals, identification of your bottleneck, a list of focus projects. Don't come back until you've done the work, and then you can just keep talking to this as we go. So that was step one. So after you have your life plan, your aim, your frame for learning, that's important. That optimizes pattern recognition to an extent so you can notice the right information so you aren't learning the wrong thing. Step two is to outline a project. Listen to this carefully. The best way to learn is to build a real-world project and only search for information when you need it. How much you learn is directly correlated with how much progress you make on the project. When you watch endless tutorials, you fill your mind with noise and chaos. Most of that information goes to waste. It leads to overwhelm, anxiety, and slows down how fast you learn. When it comes time to build the project, the only reason you're learning in the first place, you feel as if you learned nothing and have to search for the information anyway. So if you want to learn faster, skip the tutorial phase, outline the project first. And now you don't necessarily need to skip the tutorial phase, you just need to start the project and hit that struggling point. And then when you go into the tutorial phase, you actually pick up the information. Now, when I say outline a project or create a project, this tends to confuse some people. A project can be anything. Your health can be a project. Your body can be a project. Your relationship can be a project. Your business can be a project. An image in Photoshop can be a project. A website for your portfolio can be a project. A project is simply a structured way of achieving a goal or making progress toward a goal. It's a way to further narrow your frame of reference so your mind biases the right information as you learn. And again, this continues to optimize pattern recognition. As you read books, study tutorials, or have conversations, good dopamine will spurt into your brain to signal that information is important for the completion of the project. Your subconscious will munch on problems and send relevant ideas to your conscious mind. This is what creatives call shower thoughts. It's when the default mode network is active in your brain while at quote unquote rest. Think of when you're on a walk, or even more prevalent for most people is when you're about to fall asleep late at night and you're working on a project and ideas keep you up and you can't stop typing them into your phone. If you haven't experienced that, yeah, it sucks to not be able to sleep, but it feels so good because that's when the ideas come the most. When you're not focused on work, when your brain isn't in that task positive network. Charles Darwin, as an example, worked on his projects in focused blocks, then went on long walks. On these walks, his brain was at rest and potential solutions to problems pop into his head. When I write newsletters as a small project within a bigger project of my business, I outline the newsletter at the start of the week. I don't just write my newsletters all in one go. This is a weekly process. The outline creates my frame of reference. I outline it, and then as I'm writing it day by day, slowly, and going on walks and listening to stuff and researching for the newsletter or a book or whatever it is, then novel ideas come to my mind that I can use to write. If I were to just sit down and try to spit out what's in my brain all in one go, it could be good, but I'm not necessarily learning anything or doing anything unique. So when you have a project outline, if you do it in Cortex, you can just open up your phone, mobile apps coming soon, which is awesome. And you can type @ or + to connect to that specific document that you're creating the outline in, and you can just save ideas there. You can save ideas without having AI respond to you. Then they're right there when you sit down to fill out the outline of your project. And you can also just talk to Kai and be like, okay, how do I do this part? How do I do this part? So here's how you start a project. Choose something to build that moves the needle toward what you want in life from earlier. Create a note or document and brain dump everything that comes to mind. Save 3 to 5 sources of inspiration that you want to emulate. So if I'm creating a YouTube video as a project, I would save 3 to 5 YouTube videos I would want to create similar iterations of. This part is so important. Even when you're creating Photoshop or art or something like that as a beginner, or tweets or writing anything, a book, a course, whatever it may be, you start by pulling certain parts of those things into your own project. So you're not necessarily starting from scratch. You're just not starting with a tutorial. You're trying to imitate, intelligent imitation. You're trying to pull from multiple sources to create your own thing. And then as you go and hit sticking points, that's when you learn best. Now with this, you want to study those sources and break down their structure or characteristics. Then outline the project into sections, milestones, images, inspiration, and what you need to know in order to complete it. And then of course, have a place to capture ideas that come to mind. Preferably somewhere you don't lose the ideas or forget about them. You can do this in Apple Notes or Todoist or Notion or any of those things. Now, after outlining a project, step 3 is to start with what you know, because learning comes from struggle, not memorization. If you know nothing, at least try to take the first step. Download the software and start playing around. Try to create something, anything. Just get your mind in a state where it's hungry to learn. Otherwise, you probably won't digest the information you search for. Then follow this process. You start, then you don't know what to do. You try, and fail. You search for the answer or ask AI. You try to implement the answer. You repeat until the project is complete. And if you can't find the answer, you ask an expert. So a few years ago, Google searching was considered a skill. Being able to type the right things into Google to get the answer that you need, or being able to search Reddit or Stack Overflow if you're a programmer, or things like that. Now that AI has all of that information, prompt engineering is becoming the new Google search in a sense. We're going to talk about AI as a skill in the next video and how to learn this prompt engineering that I'm talking about, because it's one of the new modern skills that you can pair with any other skill to future-proof yourself to an extent. Because I believe it was the founder of NVIDIA who said, machines aren't going to replace people. People using machines are going to replace people. So if you learn how to use AI beyond just typing a sentence into it, you're setting yourself up quite well. So as an example, if I'm building a project or just an image in Photoshop and I get stuck, right? I don't know what to do. I'm kind of just like trying out different tools and then I can't create it. And let's say I want to remove a background from an image. I know nothing about Photoshop, right? Then I can just type into Kai or AI in general and say, how do I remove the background of an image in Photoshop? And it will give me a few different options that I can try. Then I succeed. And because I'm struggling and my brain wanted to learn that thing, it kind of locks it into place a lot better. And then you continue on with the project and you keep going. So I can continue to ask more questions like, what are selections and masks in Photoshop? How do I make a selection on this type of image? I was doing this the other day where I was like in Premiere editing something and I didn't know how to do it. So I pressed Option C to open up like a floating AI pane. And I just asked really quick, how do I get through this? And then I got through it and I was able to edit a lot faster without having to go through 10 different articles on Google to find the answer. So after starting, step 3.5 is how to start when you don't feel like starting, because that's a big problem for a lot of people is they just don't want to start, so they never do. The Zeigarnik effect is a psychological phenomenon where people remember unfinished tasks more than completed tasks, meaning if we don't complete tasks for our projects, it's much easier to find the motivation to get started. But how do you get started from scratch? So there's a trick here that I learned from Justin Sung, who is another YouTuber who talks about learning, and he calls this the Zeigarnik squared effect, or the Zeigarnik effect squared, either one. In other words, you want to kind of invoke the Zeigarnik effect by starting easy tasks before getting started on your project, because if you start those tasks, then they'll be unfinished and you'll want to continue working on them, and they lead naturally into the tasks that you need to work on. So this could be something like setting up your desk, like literally coming and cleaning your desk, or I make coffee in the morning and I come sit down, or some kind of ritual or routine that allows you to just get into the thing. When I don't want to write my newsletter, I just go into the outline and I just promise myself that I'm going to start looking at it, reading it, typing up some ideas that come to mind. And then eventually I hit something and I'm like, oh, okay, I can keep writing this thing. So you don't necessarily have to start doing what you were doing before. You just have to kind of go into it, start playing around a bit. And then once you start doing something or mess with something, you want to continue doing it. So for something like going to the gym, right? If you're trying to learn fitness, maybe you just go and start walking on the treadmill there. Like you just say, I'm going to go walk for 5 minutes. And if I don't feel like it doing anything here, I'm going to leave. And most of the time you won't leave if you have clarity on what you're doing. Remember, hierarchy of goals. You need to know what to do. And if you don't know what to do, then you need to study, right? Bring AI to the gym and just be like, hey, what exercise should I do next in this chest workout routine? Okay, so we're going to go back into the prompts again, and we're going to find the study regimen prompt. And we're going to take this and we're going to open a new chat. You can rename these as well if you want to keep them organized. I'm just showing you something. You can name one strategic advisor like I have here that you can go back to and chat with when you need it. You can go back to your discipline coach whenever you need to start the task. And now your study regimen, you're going to paste this in here and you're going to replace this part, the topic, with whatever you want to learn. So I'm going to say storytelling, and then we're going to send this here, and I'll make this full screen so you can actually see it once it's done generating. But what we have here, close the prompt library, is a 60-day storytelling regimen according to the prompt. So the prompt was to give me one best-selling book, one technical book, multiple YouTube videos, 3 to 5 interests that complement the main topic that I can explore as supplementary education for fun. Because you don't always just want to learn this, like go through this boring grind of learning the information. You want to learn complementary things that fill in the gaps of what you're learning. Now, what you do here inside of this chat that you can rename to study partner is you're going to go through here, and this is how you're going to learn. And I've gone through this multiple times. I've tested it. It actually gives you good information and good books to go into. So phase 1 is immersion and foundations, weeks 1 and 2. So you're going to read the book, story, style, structure, substance, etc. Why? It's a cornerstone text. Action steps: read 2 to 3 chapters a day, take notes on key concepts. And you can take notes either in this chat or in a document and connect it to it and ask it to quiz it on you. You can say, if you take notes inside of a document here, you can say, quiz me on at whatever the document is, and it will take it into context. And then also in that first phase, the YouTube video you're going to watch is here. Phase 2, technical application, 3 to 4. Phase 3, creative exploration, where you can go through all of this. Phase 4, refinement and practice, so on and so forth. And it has action steps you can take to actually learn storytelling. And it says, okay, let me know when you're ready to dive into the first phase, or if you'd like to adjust any part of this. Let's just say, let's dive into the first phase, and then it'll go. All right, it just breaks down the first phase. That's awesome. Now, I actually want to find this YouTube video here so I can show you how you could get personalized study help on that thing. Because with Kai, you can talk to your highlights or other things inside of here, and you can add YouTube videos with a link to pull the transcript in from them. Okay, I'm going to give this as an example because I've actually listened to Brandon Sanderson's lectures on writing science fiction and fantasy because I want to personally write a fable. So I'm going to turn Kai off just so I can save this in here. But what this does is it adds this to my library. So now I can access the transcript and it's right here. So I can turn on Kai and I can say, give me the key points of this video. And I can even break it down and go deeper into the actual timestamps of that specific thing. So if I listen to this video on a walk and I want to be quizzed on a specific timestamp related to it, I'll just say, can you quiz me on these key points? And then I can go through here and ask questions. I can answer the questions and then just get quizzed as my study partner. So now we have 3 things inside of here. We have the strategic advisor, we have the discipline coach, and we have the study regimen. So those 3 things combined while creating your project that you can oscillate between really enhance your learning. Now, how do you actually structure how you learn? Because we only have so much time in a day. The best way, in my opinion, to do this is in 3 different focused blocks. The first is 30 to 90 minutes of building. So you build your project and search for information when you need it. The second is 30 to 60 minutes of learning. So you follow your study regimen and take notes on what you learn, and you can review these notes by asking your notes to be summarized in Kai. That's actually one thing I forgot to show you here, is that you can turn off Kai and you can capture your notes to this specific thing. You can take all of your notes on a specific video or on the topic in here, and then you can ask Kai to summarize what's in the chat because it takes the entire chat into context. Now, the last block is 30 minutes of walking. This way you can listen to YouTube videos, audiobooks, or lectures. So go on a walk and jot down ideas on your phone as they come to mind. Those are your keystone habits. That's when all of the learning happens. And the thing here is that nobody is going to give you the time to learn and build what you want to learn and build. You have to take the time, put them on your calendar, wake up an hour earlier or stay up an hour later, turn it into a ritual. Grab your coffee, pull up your outline, put on some focused music, and start paving the way toward the future you want to create. So that's how you learn in a nutshell, but we can take it even further with a few other concepts. And to do this, we write to systematically reflect on what we learn. So here's the puzzle. You know what you want for your future, you have a project or a series of projects that will take you there, and you are learning and building daily. But there's one missing piece. And it turns out it's also a way to further enhance how much you learn. The missing piece is people who care about what you're building, because I'm assuming that you want to do this full time. You're learning and building because you want that to turn into some kind of sustainable life. You want to replace your job or career with a calling, an obsession. And to do that, you need money. At least enough to sustain your ideal life. You don't need millions of dollars, you just need enough. To make money, you need people to care about what you're building. To make people care about what you're building, you need to show what you're doing in public. And in most cases, the best way to do that is writing. teaching what you know and what you're learning as you build. If you want a masterclass in this, go follow Peter Levels or Levels.io on Twitter, where he's just building out a game with AI right now, and he's just doing it in public, and he's adding features that his followers wanted. And by doing this, you're attracting people to what you build so that they, one, care about it, and two, you have an audience now that wants to support you. Now, why writing? First thing is that it's the foundation of media. And two, it's accessible and anyone can start writing right now, no video editing skills required. And three, it holds much more power than just building an audience of supporters. Writing is how you systematically reflect on what you learn. When you teach what you learn, you expose more knowledge gaps. You struggle more to understand. You have more specific knowledge to research. So this is where the Feynman technique and protege effect come into play. The Feynman technique is a learning method popularized by physicist Richard Feynman. In short, it's about deeply understanding a concept by explaining it in simple terms as if you were teaching it to someone with no prior knowledge. So to do this, you choose a concept, so you select the topic you want to understand, you teach it, you explain the concept in simple language as if you were teaching it to a child, and then you identify gaps. So when you struggle to explain something clearly, identify the areas where your understanding is weak. Last, you review and simplify. So go back to the source material or your learning, you relearn the concepts, and then try explaining them again in even simpler terms. Now this overlaps with what's called the protege effect, which in short is the teacher learns more than the student. Teaching what you know or what you learn encourages you to make sense of it in your own way, to finally string it together in your own mind so that you can, that's learning. And by doing this, it exposes even more gaps in your knowledge. Because if I'm talking to a camera and then I watch back over it or I stumble over my words right now, I have something to improve. I have something to learn more. What this does is it increases the effect of pattern recognition. Life becomes more enjoyable and serendipitous because you notice more things in life that can help you achieve the projects or goals that you set your mind to. You learn more just from living. So how do we merge both of these with what you're already learning? You do it by writing on the internet. Now we talk about this in quite a few videos, quite a lot of them, but I'm not talking about becoming a content creator. I'm talking about treating social media as your public journal rather than a place to just distract yourself. In that way, you at least have a chance at attracting potential supporters, customers, employers, investors, team members, and anything else you would need to reach the life you want. This is why it's so powerful. Learning, building, writing to systematically reflect on what you learn in public so people value what you're learning and building, and it just doubles down on the effect of learning. It's less about building a following and more about putting your work in front of other people. Like when you're trying to meet new people, it's never going to happen if you don't get out of your house, and you'll grow bitter and angry wondering why you're all alone. It's obvious why, because you haven't given people a chance to know or care about you. Your chances of success are zero. So here's what I recommend for starting. Write a newsletter once a week to summarize what you've learned. And remember, teach it to them. Teach what you're learning. This is how so many people start newsletters or on social media, is they just use it as a place to share what they're learning that week. Some people's bios on social media are literally just sharing what I learn on the way to whatever the goal is. Sahil Bloom, millions of followers on Twitter. His bio for the longest time was like, exploring my curiosity and sharing what I learn along the way. Your bio doesn't matter here. What matters is the content. Is it interesting? Are you teaching it? Literally, start the newsletter or post. Go search on YouTube. Pay attention to these things as they pop up on your timeline so you can replicate them. It's like, I learned about this insane concept this week. It's called the Zeigarnik effect, and it's the best way to overcome procrastination. Here's what you do. Share what you learned in this video. Share anything that you learn. You give credit where credit's due when it's needed, but most of the time, if you're just teaching a concept or something like that and weaving it in with your personal experience, that just helps your learning so much more. The third thing is to just write posts on X, Threads, or LinkedIn, because these are just writing platforms. You can do any platform, but these are writing platforms. Talk about your opinions, beliefs, personal experiences, and what you are learning and building. Then tack on social media as a skill you need to learn the same way as taught in this video. Then add one more 30 to 60 minute time block for writing every morning. Now, if these time blocks are starting to add up, you can split them across different days. So you can learn on Monday, build on Tuesday, write on Wednesday, and then walk on each of those days to soak in more information. And then during all of this, ask Kai or AI in general or ChatGPT or Claude to help you as you write. So an example is you are an expert at crafting engaging social posts. What's the best way to start a post on this topic that I'm learning, and continue from there. So personally, writing changed my life. I was once a freelance web designer who failed at every business prior to that. And I started on social media because I was tired of doing cold outreach to land freelance clients. And as I kept going, I realized the power of writing in terms of getting in front of more people, not only on social media, but what about my landing pages, right? If I'm not doing cold emails and sending those things, how are people getting to me, right? They're going to my profile, they're reading some of my content, they're going to my website, my landing page, whatever it may be. And that way I didn't have to get rejected as much for reaching out to people cold. I just shared what I knew and what I was learning in web design and what I was building. You go and follow programmers or designers and they're just sharing their work. And if that work is good, they gain a following. If it's not good, then you have direct feedback. If you aren't gaining a following, then you can do better. But for me with social media, it wasn't just about the freelance work. It was about how much I was learning. Every time I hit post, it felt like I had learned something new. Like for the longest time, when I was a kid, I would just look up to people who were very articulate and knowledgeable about certain things. And then whenever I would read something like a book and I thought it was really good, but then I try to explain it in my own words and I was like, I can't do this. It's just not coming to mind. I didn't actually learn the thing. But as I started writing, and like writing is Legos with ideas. So when I'm piecing these things together and I'm able to kind of just play with the thoughts on screen, then it makes it so much easier to learn because it's not just like I'm trying to do it on the spot as I'm speaking. So the more that I wrote, the more good things happened internally and externally. So I hope that you can experience that as well. That is it for this video. I hope you learned how to learn. I hope you go on to continue learning. If you want something to learn because you still don't know what to learn, check out 2 Hour Writer or the One Person Business Launchpad or any of that stuff, link in the description or on my site, thedanco.com. Try out Cortex. It's free to start. All base features are free. Kai it's limited in usage for free. You can still use it, but unlimited usage for paid tiers right now until we continue to write. Go check out the Cortex AI tutorial on the Cortex channel so you can see a lot more of its capabilities and what we plan to do with it in the future. Like, subscribe. Thank you again for watching. See you in the next video.